Carpe diem, mother effer. Hello, huge movie fanatic. Nate, coming at you to review a movie. How about that? Coming at you today to review a movie that you probably wouldn't necessarily expect me to review, but nonetheless I'm going to surprise you and do that and do it and review it, which is a movie by the name of Dead Poets Society. I say it like it's a horror movie. Dead Poets Society. This is a movie that I recently picked up at Half Price Books for a whopping $2. It's a movie that they made us watch in high school, back when I was in high school, and obviously back at the time I was more interested in horror movies and stuff like that. So I was like, but I mean, rather than listening, rather than doing like, schoolwork or listening to some teacher talk, whatever, I'll watch a movie. So I mean, the only thing I remember from this movie at the time, until I just recently saw it, was the scene at the party where he's like carpe diem, and the girl's like just so unrealistically just laying there unconscious on the couch, and he's like leans over to kiss her. I thought he kissed her on the lips, but apparently he only kisses her on the forehead, which is kind of a bummer. I don't know why they couldn't have had him kiss her on the lips, but at any rate, having revisited Dead Poets Society, I was expecting it to be kind of one of these more cookie cutter, just lame attempts at sentimentality, just nonsense. That's kind of how I remember it being, and kind of how I thought it would be, kind of along the lines of, I was very unimpressed, as you've seen if you've seen my review of A River Runs Through It. I have seen and reviewed that movie. Actually, I reviewed that movie while I was kayaking on the river, which is kind of cool. So feel free to check out my review for A River Runs Through It. I found that movie to be just kind of this cookie cutter sentiment and just lame and whatever. That's kind of how I thought this movie would be. And I was kind of impressed, like, with the I'm not a big Robin Williams fan. I've never really liked Robin Williams very much, and but I gotta tell you, I really kind of pretty much agree with probably everything his character says in this movie. I think it's absolutely fantastic. The way, the character of whatever his name is, Robin Williams' character, teacher in this movie, just is basically going against the grain and all this and that. This takes place in what, 50, I don't know, does it say? It doesn't really say, but I think it takes place in like 58 or something like that at this, which I'm assumed to be like a Catholic school or some kind of religious school, which is kind of creepy. And the thing about it, not being a religious person myself, the thing that I thought was so ironic about it is they were like doing this light of knowledge or something like that. And it's just like the last place there's no knowledge is, anyway, I'm not going to get into my personal thoughts about religion, but it starts off the bat with one of my least favorite sounds in the entire planet, which is bagpipes, which is kind of like, oh gosh, oh geez, as they're doing like this ceremonial thing, which I presume to be the beginning of the school year for this private school or whatever, which is really weird because it seems to have all kinds of ages of kids, from like young to like high school. I'm assuming these kids are of high school age. And my understanding is, this is like a private Catholic religious school, something like that, and these high school kids or whatever are doing whatever. Long story short, I think the English teacher retired and was replaced by this Robin Williams character. I don't probably have to tell you any of this. You know what the hell happens in this movie, but long story short, I was mostly impressed by the character played by Robin Williams. I very much agreed with just whatever, and when they start the movie where he just takes all the kids out of the room and to the hallway where you see the pictures of all these now dead alumni and stuff like that, I thought that was really poignant, saying, what, carpe diem, because all these guys are just full of just as much testosterone and drive and youth and vitality and energy and stuff as you guys are now, and they're all dead right now. They're fertilizers. So basically it's a good reminder of just that one scene really is really all you need to really win you over. And that was a fantastic, that happened early on in the movie, and that was a fantastic start to the movie and a fantastic introduction to the character of this teacher played by Robin Williams, having survived, which easily could have been a fatal car accident about 20 years ago now. I fully understand and have understood ever since that happened that if there's something you want to do, you really should do it, because just because you think you're going to get decades and decades of life doesn't mean it's going to happen. So if you're able, to do something now, you really should do it now, because no one is guaranteed any more time, is what it boils down to. So that was, having experienced what I've experienced in life, that part of the movie really kind of hit me and was very poignant and definitely hit home with me. So overall, this movie is a fantastic tale of going against the grain, and going against this, unfortunately, this establishment which has been set forth in, something that everyone for the last, I don't know, several generations had to be a part of, this, this thing, which is, the school system, be it public or private. It's kind of the same thing regardless, just this, school's evil is what it boils down to. And if you like school, that's your business. But in my opinion, school's just nasty, and it's like this filing system for molding minds into what the system wants and needs them to be in order to serve that system later in life. And school, in my opinion, is just this indoctrination, basically, is what it is, to get you ready for what you're gonna, your slave, whatever slave job you end up with for the rest of your life, that serves the creators of the system that we're born into. But I was impressed. I thought this movie went above, or rose above, the more cookie cutter sentiment shit that is generally found in Hollywood movies, much like movies like A River Runs Through It and others, that I just kind of like, oh man, that's trying to be all sentiment, but it's just so lame. This one actually, in my opinion, from several directions and several different arenas, manages to achieve a very strong sense of, whatever, a very strong sense of actual, living and breathing sentiment, and obviously the story of the kids finding the yearbook of when this teacher was actually, having gone to this school before they did, and finding out that he was, I don't know if he ran, or at any rate was a part of this club called the Dead Poets Society, and these kids end up doing the same thing, which is kind of cool, just going away. I thought that I was going to watch this movie and roll my eyes and just like whatever, but I rather enjoyed it. And I'm not going to, just because I want to be all tough or manly or some dumb shit like that, I'm not going to say that even though I enjoyed it that I thought it was stupid. No, I'm going to be truthful and say I was surprised, and I have no problem admitting that I was surprised, as much as like the whatever side of me, perhaps cynical side of me would like to say bah humbug to Dead Poet Society. It was actually, compared to a lot of shit that came out back at the time, and particularly now, I was impressed by this movie, and would definitely, I think we're going to go, 3.5 stars out of 4 for Dead Poet Society. I think it definitely does what it does well, and I agree with, like I said, most everything, if not everything, that the Robin Williams character really brings to the kids' lives and stuff like that. And unfortunately, it's kind of sad the way the movie does end, because obviously this movie is, made and distributed by the same people who actually made the system that we are growing, born into and have to live in. And in a way, it might be perceived as a little bit of a mocking or a little bit of a cautionary tale to anyone who wants to try to go against the grain, as, the characters try to do in this movie, which is, well, don't bother, because, in the end we will suffice, we being the system or the, the establishment that wants to just, have everyone fall in line and step with how they want you to be. So the ending of this movie is far more tragic than I think, to me, having seen it just recently within the last week, is far more tragic than perhaps they even intended it to be. I just perhaps see deeper into it, and just like I was very kind of very very mournful at the end, because although it was a triumph for the Robin Williams character as far as him having reached these kids, it was a very, very, and I guess I should be glad that it's an unhappy ending, because I complain so much about happy endings. So I guess it's funny because I always want an unhappy ending, but this one is just too unhappy that I kind of would like a, but I guess it's the, I guess it's the ending that unfortunately needs to be there. But yeah, I'm definitely glad I picked this movie up for 200 pennies plus some tax. The movie looks, it's just kind of a delightful movie, really. And I looked at the running time before I watched it. I didn't know if I could fit it in. 129 minutes. Didn't know if I could fit it in on the night that I chose to watch it, and I was just like, I don't know. And I'm like, 2 hours. But holy cow, it goes by like really, really quickly. So 3.5 stars once again for Dead Poet Society. I think it has a lot of profound things to say about just individualism and following your dreams and doing what you want to do, regardless of what anyone says about it. Unfortunately, I wouldn't, the whole suicide scene and stuff like that's kind of, I don't know if that needed to be in the movie. I guess, I don't know, that's just kind of creepy to me to be in a movie. What is this rated? It's rated PG. I mean, it's just like, does that need to be in a movie that's rated PG? I don't know. That's probably one of my only big complaints about the movie, is the suicide aspect. Perhaps he could have tried to do it with some other means and failed or something. But obviously it's supposed to be, I guess at the end of the day, it is, these things happen in life, so I guess to tiptoe around reality, I guess would be maybe, I don't know. That's anyone's opinion, I guess, about the whole suicide aspect. But feel free to let me know what you think about this movie, the suicide aspect, what you like or dislike about this movie in the comments. And I guess that'll pretty much wrap up my review of Dead Poet Society, something that I actually thought of in months past. I'm like, you know what? I don't know what made me think of that movie. Maybe I was watching another movie. Maybe I bought and watched this movie called With Honors earlier in the year, and for $2 as well. And I think that made me think of Dead Poet Society. But I was very excited when I saw this on the shelf for $2. I'm like, hell yeah, I forgot about this. I wanted to actually, buy it, preferably for $2, and rewatch it. And I'm very much glad I did. So thank you very much for watching this review, and as always, we'll catch you next time.